We welcome the night.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Horror Night Oasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror. At the moment, Ian is not with me, so at the moment he comes up on the switchboard, I will get him on. But we are here to finish up our Halloween grab bag marathon. It's been a very interesting month. And yeah, we have one more film to review. And sadly, the Boneyard review that I had planned for this week to close out the marathon with didn't come through as I had planned. I did receive it, but it was not up to standards where I was able to share it with, of course, Ian to co-review it. So that was kind of a no-go. I did get in contact with the director, and sadly there's no online screener or anything like that. It's so that didn't work. So maybe next year, who knows? I have to buy another copy and give it to Ian in preparation for the show. Still don't see Ian up on the switchboard. So I don't know. I guess something must have happened there at the very last second. There he is.
I don't know what happened. My phone just completely froze up on me, and I was sitting there just trying to hit the button a million times. I had to turn it off and turn it back on. I was like, no.
It's always like that every now and then, where something just happens. And I don't know if it's the earlier when I was calling in, I dialed the wrong number, right? And I dialed the guest calling number instead of the host calling number. And then I hung up and I redialed everything and I got the right number. And then both numbers are up, both my numbers are up on there. So apparently one was the host and then one was the call-in, and I had both of them on there. I was like, I'm live. I don't know if I hang up, if they'll hang up both phones or not. And I tried it and okay, at least that didn't hang up both phones. But nonetheless, you're here, Ian. We're here to continue, put an end to this Halloween grab bag marathon. I said earlier it's been an interesting month with what we watched, and of course the Boneyard review didn't come out to the way that we kind of wanted it to, but nonetheless, like I said, I did get in contact with the director, and he did bring up that he would want to send you one, so if we want to hang on to it for that long of time to review it next year, That's totally up to either of us. I don't know. I might
Yeah.
watch it beforehand, and just who knows? You know, it's a year. You never know. But nonetheless, we're rambling on here. But there is one thing of topic to discuss, and that was that this past weekend there was a horror film in theaters, believe it or not, called The Empty Man. And I showed you the trailer. I watched the trailer. I showed you the trailer. And I had ways of watching it, and I did watch it. And since it is a new movie, I decided, might as well decide to take a little bit of time before we delve into our Halloween grab bag review, because there's probably not going to be a lot to discuss with that one. So I want to get into this because it's a new release. But the Empty Man is one of those films. It's 2 hours and 12 minutes long, and you would think it's one thing, and it's completely opposite. The trailer it didn't do the film justice. The film's still not very good, but you would think, when I was watching it, like, okay, this is going to be like some kind of bye-bye man, Slender Man type ordeal, and it's not. It's none of that. It needed tighter execution in the script and to the reasonings behind the quote-unquote Empty Man, because you have this 24-minute opening sequence before the title card comes up. And, like, they do this whole thing with, like, they go to, like, these Tibetan mountains or something, and the guy falls in, and he finds this skeleton body that's, like, attached to a mountain. And somehow that if you, like, touch him, not the skeleton, but, like, he gets inside of you, right? So they build this whole mythology, like, on the first day, because you have to blow into a bottle and throw it off the bridge or something like that. And that comes into, like, modern time, and the whole time frame to this thing is so off, but it kind of makes sense later on with the reveal. But they turn it into, like, a psychological cult-type movie, and it's a totally, it's not bad. It's totally, it's something one of those, like, with the like I said, with the tighter execution, and it could have been trimmed down a little bit. I'm assuming this was in partnership with the Disney merger with Fox, so they're just throwing stuff out there now. And this is one of those that I guess was on the shelf for a while, and it's just like it's okay, and it goes places, because it's like, again, it goes more of a psychological horror with the mind than it does, because it's like more cop procedural with the one detective trying to find out about these group of kids that are dying or were murdered, and then it sort of like devolves into like an Eyes Wide Shut with like this cult, and you're like wanting to know more about this whole Empty Man, and then like this cult, and like the one guy from like the beginning of the movie apparently is there, and like there's this whole time frame that doesn't really add up, because like, I don't want to get into the spoilers, but it's an okay watch, but it's just like they needed better execution on the reasonings why of the Empty Man, because like, again, they set up everything and like, oh, he's after me because this is like the first day, because you have to blow in the bottle, throw it off the bridge, and then like the first day is like you think his name, and then the second day like he finds you, or the third day he finds you, something like that. Like the first day, like second day you hear him, second day he does something, the third day he finds you, something like that. So they set up these rules that really doesn't even take effect at all, and then they totally sort of change it up, but then they don't, and there's very little Empty Man per se, Empty Man with the skeleton in the wall, and like the whole reasoning, like why that's there, and why a certain person is able to have like these abilities that causes other people to commit suicide, and like why are they using this whole thing as a conduit for what's the purpose of everything. So there's stuff missing. It really did feel like there's a lot of stuff missing, but it's not good, but it's not bad. Compared to what you thought it would be in a la Bye Bye Man, Slender Man ordeal, it's none of that. So the trailer does a bad disservice to the film, because it could have been actually pretty interesting if they just went more with like the reasoning behind things and just tightened it up, because like there's like a weird like, again, like certain timelines happening at once that takes into effect later on in the film when things start to get revealed. So it's like it's all over the place, and then like there's no reason for half of it, and then like when the other reveal towards the end takes place, then it just like throws everything else out the window, so it doesn't really matter. So it's very unusual, I'll say that. And it could have been tightened up a lot better, and could have made it could have made an okay film sort of better, because I was thinking it was like sort of like The Forest that came out like a few years back with the lady going to search for her sister in the suicide forest in Japan or China or wherever the suicide forest was, and like like I said, like they went for like all the jump scares in that movie very early on, and it takes you out of the film where it could have been a good psychological horror thriller. I mean, it's still not a bad movie, The Forest, but like those jump scares just kind of like it was unnecessary. There's like a lot of stuff in this that's like unnecessary or not well thought out, or it's there, but it's just like it's not really divulged that much where like you're left with more questions than answers, and it just like, because again, like the first 24 minutes, like, okay, then what's this character? Is he coming into play? And then they introduce this cop detective narrative searching for everything because he lost his wife and son in a freak car accident. But nonetheless, it's okay. It could have been something else. It could have been better, of course. But it's just like there's a lot more questions, and just like there's a lot of things that it's there, but they just didn't give you enough information on what you needed. But nonetheless, it's a new film, new review. We hardly do that nowadays with all these marathons, but I thought since I did see it, it needed to be discussed a little bit before we get into our last Halloween grab bag. And again, I apologize for those just wanting to get into the Halloween grab bag marathon, but we do have to do new horror whenever we get a chance. I was thinking like maybe we should just do the new Craft film, Craft Legacy, for the finale. I was like, nah. Might have had better conversation, but it's not really. I don't know if that was really anywhere near Halloween. And I heard it's not very good, and of course it doesn't hold a candle to the original film. But nonetheless, we'll get in. Plus it's Blumhouse, and I know how they did Black Christmas, and I don't. But anyway, let's get into the Halloween grab bag marathon before we go off the tangent any longer. And One Night in October is our last film, and when this first started out, it's a Wild Eye distributed film. Like when the logo came up there, like, okay, I don't know what I'm getting when it comes to Wild Eye, but this one is not too bad. It's on the towards the good, towards the green a little bit, section when it comes to Wild Eye. It's not in the red or orange, when it comes to it's sort of neutral. It's not bad, it's not good. But when this film first started, I was like, okay, where's this heading? Because it introduces a pretty good plethora of characters, because you're introduced to Michelle, who just moved into the house and she loves Halloween, and her neighbor Hewitt comes over and he's like talking with her and talking about Halloween decorations, and then it cuts to these kids, these group of teens, I guess young adults, in a cornfield, and they're going through there because the one girl who's the lesbian couple in the group of friends never seen a cornfield, so her other decides to take her to this cornfield out in the middle of nowhere. And the one lady that who owns the farm, I suppose, tells them to leave, and they find like a skull with a candle, melts a candle on it, and they also found a red candle, which they take with them, and their car doesn't start. And then we have this other, again, not knowing any of this yet, just all these characters. And then we have Emma, who is in this 3-month sort of thing with this cop detective. I don't know exactly what he was, but he's like some kind of special agent, I guess, where he's not allowed to see her for every 3 months. And she lives in this new apartment, and just like she starts to get stalked by somebody in a mask, and slowly the stories divulge where it becomes an anthology film, and you don't realize that at the very beginning. You have to wait a while, and like because you're waiting for all these stories to interconnect, and there's hardly any of it besides the one scene with Emma and the girl that she's hanging with at the restaurant, and she gets a phone from one of the characters from the cornfield, like it breaks up. You're like, oh, our car's dead, we need help, and she's going to like this some kind of party, and like, oh, I better go, and that's the only thing that connects one story to the other. There's no other stories interconnected between just that phone call, and then so you have it's told after I finished it, I was thinking, this is reminding me of like a Christmas horror story where it's like an anthology film, but it cuts to certain parts of the story instead of being segments. And I don't know if it was a good idea because I felt like there wasn't a lot of strong. I mean, the segments were okay. I mean, it was better than like a Christmas horror story, nonetheless. But I just felt like I know they didn't want to be like they wanted to break the norm, but again, like that didn't work with a Christmas horror story, and it's not really working with me on this one. Again, I think the strongest one was the kids in the cornfield with the scarecrow, because I liked the story that was going there, even though it's the shortest one of the bunch, and because you're like you're getting more with the spoilers. The kids in the cornfield deals with a scarecrow, in a sense, a scarecrow. The other one with Michelle, which is the longest, deals with intruders breaking into her house, and something happens with her where it turns the tables. And then the other segment with Emma and the 3-month thing is like, technically, I mean, I don't want to give it away, but there's something there too with her and the dark. I'll just put in quotations, the dark. And, because her and the boyfriend dating, whatever, like they're not allowed to see each other. He does something for this place, and, it's she gets stalked by a guy in a mask, and then, anyway, they're all just like, you get like 5 minutes of one scene, 2 minutes of the other, so it's very non-linear and not really it's coherent, but just like the flow of the story is not all that great. Like once you're getting interested in one segment, it cuts to the other, and you have to start all over again with interest. Because I know it just like I just hated that with a Christmas Horror Story, and plus the first two segments with that and Christmas Horror Story were just beyond bad. And then you have the one with the Santa Claus fighting zombie elves, and that's the best one. And you're having to watch these other two non-interesting segments interjected with the good segment, and it's like I felt the same way with this one. Like they're not bad segments. I mean, they're interesting. I mean, they are low budget, but they are a little long, and it's an hour and 42 minutes, maybe a little bit more with credits, but hour 42. And again, the best segment I thought was the Scarecrow, and like they could have done they could have opened it up with like the Scarecrow or the dark segment, and then have like the middle portion or the last segment be the Halloween with the Michelle or Melissa or whatever her name was, the home invasion one there, and then like it could have been cool because like it worked better and it had been better flowing. Just like have something like sort of like connect them, all of them happened in this one night in October, of course, because it felt like again like there was like no reason like for this. Besides the Scarecrow and the dark one that's happening in the same time frame as besides not the one in the house. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't good. there was some flaws with it, but it's just like it's rather long, and just like it wasn't just like it was just like I'd much rather had it been a normal anthology film than interwoven like they did it. Ian, thoughts?
Oh, I'm about to throw this phone away. It keeps hitting buttons. You hit the mute button again. It's done this to me 5 times today. my thoughts. I wish they would have done more with the Scarecrow.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, the whole serial killer crazy aspect of it, went a little too far. Like, seemed like some of those scenes could have just been done quick, and they drug that out. I don't know. I was just like, I felt like some of the beginning was a little slow of getting started.
Yeah.
And I mean,
because you're not sure. Like I said, you're not sure what it is. You're thinking it's all this one movie, and there's just all these characters. That then you realize, oh, it's an anthology film.
Yeah. And I was kind of wondering if it was going to end up like Trick or Treat, how that all panned out.
Yeah.
But I felt like Trick or Treat did it better with that aspect, how it, like, all the stories connected, but they were all, like, separate entities. I liked how this one felt like it was just, there wasn't much of a switch. Like, at one point, I just was like, I looked down. I got a message on my phone. I looked down for, like, 5 minutes and looked up, and it was a completely different scene. And I was like, did I miss something? So I had to keep going back a little bit. But I just felt like it was a little slow in parts. The serial killer scene, though, like I said, it just felt too drawn out. I really wanted to know more about the dark than what we got. I wanted to see more of that.
It's like they went with, like, I don't know why, they just went with the serial killer house longer than the other two. I mean, there's a lot more to discuss with the dark and the Scarecrow. Because, like, I like the setup of the Scarecrow and the backstory of the Scarecrow and the whole thing, but it's just like it was done. And then, like, you're still left with, like, 20 minutes of the other two stories. And, like, Jesus Christ, like, there's just, like, no reason for, like, why is that even there? I mean, just if you wanted to do the story, just do the two-story anthology with the dark and the serial killer. But, I don't know. And then, of course, like, there was a lot more questions with the dark, too, that just wasn't answered, like, the whole thing of the dark. And, like, I mean, it's understandable, but still, like, there's still just, like, stuff there that's, like, not really thought out well or just not brought up at all. And you're just like, okay, I understand this, and she's, doing okay. There's, like, why is she being stalked? Stuff like that. It's like, I don't want to get into spoilers just in case people want to see it, because it's not bad. It's just, there's just a lot of issues with the whole, with like that section, and just like again being intertwined with each one like a Christmas Horror Story. But just like, again, like the whole fucking serial killer aspect, which you've seen done numerous times before in full-length films, just was like nothing. Like they've done that in, like, what was it? There's a possession movie or something like that called, like, The House on Willow Street or Willow Avenue. I don't remember. No, it's like Willow something. And like where they kidnap somebody for money, and like it turns out that she's possessed, and then she starts killing them. So it's like I've seen that done before in various ways, and it's nothing new. I mean, there was okay, like war moments, but it's just like nothing really too overly gory. It's just like a few blood spurts and heart on a stake or something like that. So it's not overly bloody. There is a little bit of blood, but it's just like the stories is just like it's just like, again, like Ian said, you watch one and then it's the next thing. The next story gets just like it's uneven in parts, because like you're interested in one story and you get started, and then next story starts and like you have to start all over, like I said earlier. But I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, you're fine. I didn't really have a whole lot to say on that. I mean, other than like just there was like you said, there was some pretty decent gore moments. I really liked how clean the camera was. It was a really nicely shot film, and I didn't think there was too many audio issues.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it just, I don't know. I felt something was up with the redhead chick, and I was like something, like, because the way she kept moving and everything, because I was like, there's something off about her. Like, I just kept thinking it was like something off. And then when we got that aha moment, I was like, yeah, I knew something was up with her. But I kind of wish they would gone in more into her backstory about that too, like what caused her to do that, what caused her to be the way she is. A little bit. I mean, I don't necessarily need, like, in detail, just like a 5-second, like, oh, there. Because, like, there's just some stuff that just didn't really add up, and some things that I just wanted more explanation on some stuff, so I can get more drawn into these characters that I'm supposed to care about.
Yeah, like the whole dark thing. Like they introduced that, and he shows up at the door with the mask, and then like you're led to believe like, oh, okay, it's going to be sort of something like this, and then they introduce a different portion of where the story goes, and then it just like doesn't really go anywhere, sadly, and it's just like, oh, this happened again. Like, okay, you know, they don't even, and then it just like ends. There's like no conclusion. Like, okay, well, this is where it's going to end at. And you're still left with a serial killer, and that goes on for another 15 minutes. It's just like, if you just wanted to make a serial killer movie, make a serial killer movie on Halloween. It's not that hard. I mean, if you want to make it the longest, just do that for the full feature. I mean, you had this, don't make it elongated, you know, short, you know. I don't know.
Yeah. It kind of felt like,
and there's like,
that's what they were going with.
That either. I mean, it's dumb. Like, oh, you have a big TV and you live by yourself.
Yeah,
okay, this is easy picking. Like, yeah, it's just kind of dumb.
And just like, yeah, and the whole elaborate. Oh God, these people tell me where everything's at. Blah blah blah. I'm like, why? Why don't you have her locked up? Why don't you look? It's like, so I was just sitting there. I was like, why the elaborate scheme? Like, why go through all this trouble when you can literally just tear the whole house apart? And, like, I don't know. I just was like, this makes no sense. Why would you do all of this just for a little bit of money?
Yeah.
It's like,
it was kind of stupid. I mean, honestly, that was just like the reasoning behind it. Dumb. And like, again, they could have just turned that ass. You know, like, again, they could have not even brought that up. And like, you know, like we could have got the idea that they wanted something else and got the same resolution out of it instead of money and stuff like that, or like maybe I don't know. It's just like there's something there. Like, it's just like, you know, but then done a little bit more with the Scarecrow, because I felt like like they still could have done something with that one lady, but then I guess not, because she went to a party. I don't know. I was like thinking like maybe the girl that was like the interconnected the Scarecrow with one could have like somehow connected. You know, like when she went to the party and she got killed or something like that with the Scarecrow. Yeah. But yeah, it would have made sense because she didn't touch the candle, so it wouldn't matter. Anyway. So it's like, you know, a lot of things. I'm just like, there's a lot of things in my head. Like they could have, like, when it's like, again, the whole. I'm rambling. I don't even know what point I want to make. I'm just like, there's all these things that, like, I want to talk about this thing, and like the reasoning behind that all over the place.
Yeah. And I was trying to figure out how all the stories were connected. And I don't think, other than the fact that they were all taking place, like, on the same day, That's just.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but that was kind of lazy. I felt like that was really lazy. Like, oh, these are all on the same day. We're not going to tell you exactly how they're connected. I guess they were all in the same town. It didn't
assuming
feel
because
like that.
again, the phone call, like, oh, we're going to go to a Halloween party, and that's where they're going to, and that they can't get there because their car broke down. So that's the reason that they called the one girl, and she was going to a Halloween party that connects them to the Scarecrow to the dark. But there's no connection to the serial killer house to the other stories.
Yeah.
Or just
Yeah,
the dark in general.
That's what I was like, sitting there, just like so confused by what was going on with that. Like, I saw, with the phone call and all that, but after that, I was just like, I guess it's all in the same town. But other than that, there's no wraparound story or, like, I don't know, just it felt like all of the stories were so disconnected, except for that one little scene. And
like you said, it's like, Trick or Treat, how they did that with, like, all of them. Every character is, there's a reasoning. Like, they all become, they see one another in the same town, but they're all different stories going along, so it makes it an anthology, and it flows pretty well, Trick or Treat. And this one where they do the Christmas Horror Story route, and it just, like, doesn't really go much because, again, it's just the pacing is not that good because you're interested.
No,
it just changes. Like, again, the whole issue I had with the Christmas Horror Story was, like, the other two stories sucked, and you have to watch those to continue on with the good one. And sadly, with this one, the good one ends early, so you're left watching the other two that aren't so good.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I wasn't really all that interested in the serial killer aspect. I mean, there was some cool moments in it, like, but one I was just like had me yelling at the TV was when she had the axe and she went to hit that guy in the head and she just disappears. And it's like, then what was the whole point of this 3-minute long scene of you preparing a swing and you're just going to disappear?
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I get what to do what she did later on, but even that was kind of lame, I thought. Like, I was just like, okay, why'd you do that? You could have done, like, we could have she could have just killed them all really quick, and then we could have had more Scarecrow or more darkness. But no.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that could have been discussed or just brought up. But again, it's not. Who are we? But again, it's just like they should have just went straight full on with the serial killer if they wanted to do that, because again, it was the longest out of all of it.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I should have timed it when when I first started it. Just have a little timer going and just like start it every time the serial killer aspect started. But I didn't. Even just to see the length of it, because again, like the Scarecrow one, if I had to, it was like maybe 20 minutes total, if that. While the serial killer had to be at least like 45, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So it was long.
It was honestly more than half the movie.
Yeah.
At least that's what it felt like.
It had to probably be like 50 minutes, at least.
Yeah.
But
just like
I said, it's not terrible if you want to watch something different, an anthology film. But like I said, it's not great. It has issues, pacing issues. Like I say, if you've seen A Christmas Horror Story and you kind of liked it, or you liked it, this is definitely one you would probably want to check out too. Because again, I didn't care that much for A Christmas Horror Story besides the Santa Claus versus the zombie elves, and the Krampus Santa Claus attack towards the end of that one. And but yeah, the other two stories were just awful in A Christmas Horror Story. because I've seen him done a million times before. But this one, like, again, I've seen it done numerous times before with these, but I still think it's a better film for what they were trying to go with.
Yeah.
There's some good effects. The later on scene with the Hewitt, and what happens to him, because Ian brought up the axe scene that never happens. We get sort of a payoff and a reveal that happens with him. And it has some good, okay gore effects for what they're trying to do. But again, just the pacing issues, a lot of stuff that could have been answered or dealt with better, they just kind of gloss over. They don't really give you reasoning, like why certain things happen. Not that you need a lot, but you just need something there, because, or like the whole reasoning, I don't see it. I need, we can't see each other but one time every 3 months. Like, why is that? And then you bring up the dark. And then, like, is that the reasoning why that you can't see her every 3 months? But that doesn't make sense, because you still see her and talk to her. So it's not that. She has it under control, as she's mentioned in conversations you're having. And then, like, she's worried and wants him to come over, and then it doesn't really matter because the dark. And, okay. There's just, like, a lot of things. It's just, like, it's, like, glossed over. Like, there's certain conversation or a scene missing that just, like, could have been there to help make that story stronger.
Yeah. Like, honestly, all it needed was to shorten down. At the same time, all it needed to do was shorten down the serial killer scene and added to that, added an extra 5 minutes to each story. Just at least dive down a little bit deeper into them. And I think it would have been a lot better.
Yeah. But nonetheless, I don't think there's really too much left on the bones for One Night in Halloween. So I think that's going to do it for our Halloween grab bag marathon this year. It's been an interesting year, I think. It's been an interesting marathon. It's had its ups and downs, and I think the true one that we both enjoyed was on Halloween last week, and that one pretty much, I think, takes the cake as the best one of the marathon. And then I would think They Live Inside Us would be the second one. One Night in October would be third. I don't even remember the second one. And then, like, On Ethel, somewhere down there.
I also don't remember that one. I'm trying to.
I remember it.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it'll pop up once we close the show. Let me go back. I'll go look. But as I look, I'll bring up that as this marathon concludes, we do have a brand new one starting up next week with our Scarecrow Marathon, which, of course, I'll come up with some kind of name for it. And this was a good segue into our Scarecrow Marathon, because we had a Scarecrow segment in One Night in October. So that was pretty interesting to have that to continue on next month. And I got pretty much all the films that I want to talk about for next month's marathon. I know the film that we're going to start with, and as we'll just go on from there as we usually do. Maybe one or two will pop up. Who knows? But it should be another fun little marathon and doing all that fun stuff that we come to know this year with Year of the Marathon. And I'm not seeing why can't I find what we did for the second week? I guess it really doesn't matter. Bad apples. So I would assume, honestly, I'd put I don't know. Bad apples was, I don't know where I'd put that one. I guess, it's bottom two with Bad Apples and On Ethel. So I know that for sure because, One Night in October is a little bit better than Bad Apples because I don't know. It's up there. You know, it's down there towards the bottom. So like I said, it's bottom 3, nonetheless. But Ian, you looking forward to the Scarecrow Marathon?
As always. Wait, hopefully it's not like we don't get anything like Halloween Jack or anything.
Yeah. Well, we never know. The way that the director does, because he churns them out, man. He makes a freaking Robert the Doll movie every year. So we just got a Robert Reborn recently, and then like he made another film like the Jonestown Murders that recently, and so he'll probably have a Halloween Jack out. He just churns them out, man. He's crazy. So we might be expecting a Halloween Jack movie this year. Who knows? I don't know. I could go to IMDb and look, but I don't feel like I should. Just be weary. Like, is there a Halloween Jack movie this year? I hope not, because they do kind of continue it off with the second one. Like, oh God, we got a third one to look forward to. What family member is he going after this time? Nonetheless, it'll be an interesting marathon. We're just rambling here at the last few minutes of the show. But yeah, Ian, as always, it's great talking with you and talking these films, and good, time waster. Just talk to somebody, talk horror, and it's always fun. And I always look forward to it every week and talking about films and whatever we decide to watch for that week. And we thank everyone for listening as we do this marathon, the marathon year, as we named it. And it's been an interesting year. There's interesting again, but it's what's kept the show going. And then, we can't have new horror, even though we had a few, but nonetheless, we try to put those in every chance we get along with these marathons. But the marathons take precedent over the marathon, the new stuff. Unless there's not really that much to talk about, like tonight's show, where it's just me rambling on about the Empty Man. But I figured I needed to talk about the Empty Man because I felt like the trailer was giving off a wrong vibe. Because honestly, with that trailer is not interesting and it looks awful. But if you watch the film, I mean, it's not exactly at all what the trailer described it to be. It's so weird.
That's good.
But
yeah.
But nonetheless, when it comes out on Blu-ray in like 3 months, you can watch it then. But that's going to do it. We're just rambling now. But Ian, it's great talking with you, and we thank everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time for the beginning of our Scarecrow Marathon. So Ian, until next time, buddy.